What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson, and welcome to my very messy studio. Cables and boxes and guitars and pedals and more cables all littering the ground in my very dirty, very messy studio at the moment. And I'm waiting for videos to finish exporting. And what's been so cool this year about doing the NAMM videos is that I've been watching them and just remembering how fun the NAMM show was, despite how hard I worked and despite how some days I wasn't exactly feeling my best, that the NAMM show was really successful. And that's all thanks to all of you out there that have been watching the NAMM videos that I made, and that's also thanks to my colleagues who helped make the show as successful as it was. However, I also seem to remember how every year around the beginning of the new year that the prevailing rumor comes around that the NAMM show is going to be open to the public for at least a day or two. And for some reason, the rumors always say that they're going to be open to the public on the busiest days. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that in the 10 years that I've been going to the NAMM show, the Winter NAMM show specifically, it's never been open to the public. And in my personal opinion, Winter NAMM probably never will be open to the public. The worst part is you see all kinds of perspectives about this on the internet, from people being totally understanding of that and being just cool with watching videos from people like myself on YouTube. But then you see the unreasonable reactions from people of like, well, if they wanted to actually have a successful show, they should open it to the public. We're the people that buy this stuff. Okay, that was a little mean, but at the same time, look, I was in that boat too. I totally get that perspective, and I totally understand that. As I've gone to the show over the last 10 years of my life, I've gained some perspective on the NAMM show. So here they are. My 3 reasons for why NAMM isn't, and probably never will be, open to the public. So I think the first reason is pretty obvious at this point. NAMM is a trade show. Plain and simple, NAMM is a trade show. It's meant for people that work in the musical instrument industry, in the musical instrument business. It's not really designed for the public to attend and really get anything out of it. Most of the people that go to the show are involved in the industry. Now, notice I said most, and we'll get to that in a little bit. It's really strange how NAMM gets a lot of comparisons to things like Comic-Con and E3. So think about it like this. Every year Comic-Con comes around and people can actually buy tickets. You can actually register for an account with Comic-Con and purchase a ticket to Comic-Con. And that's cool. But then think about all the other stuff that happens at Comic-Con. The panels with the trailers where fans are allowed to come up and ask questions. There's just not anything like that at NAMM. And then, not only that, think about the different limited edition collectibles and toys that are available at things like Comic-Con. You know, you just don't have that with NAMM. Sure, there might be some specials that companies will run, but it's not like those were things that you could buy at the NAMM show. And that's another thing. NAMM, you can't really buy stuff unless you're a buyer, and you can't really take stuff off the show floor. It's not really designed for that. So, although the comparisons are totally understandable, they're just not accurate. NAMM is not really designed for the consumer. It's designed for people within the business. The second reason that I would say that NAMM is not open to the public and probably never will be is that it already kinda is. I know, kinda surprising, right? Well, that's going back to what I said earlier about most people who attend the NAMM show are involved in the musical instrument business in some way, shape, or form. Companies get excess badges, and oftentimes, if you're nice enough and you ask, they'll give you a badge. I know I probably have just outed a secret that a lot of my industry colleagues will probably hate me for, but that's the truth of it. If you're nice and kind enough and maybe are willing to do a little bit of work for a company, they'll be more than happy to supply you with a badge if they have them. That's kind of the catch. Companies don't have endless badges to be able to supply to people. Depending on the size of the company, they'll they'll be allotted a certain number of badges. This year, as a media outlet, I also got 4 badges. I was allowed to hire a staff to help me out. And are those people necessarily involved in the musical instrument industry? No, they're not. And that's okay. I just trust them to help me get my job done. You have to also look at it like this too. Why does NAMM have artists and celebrity signings? It's not like many people in the industry really care about that. Well, the reason they do is because they know that there's a certain number of guests that are allowed into the show that aren't necessarily there to do business. They're there to enjoy themselves. So companies line up artists and celebrity signings and appearances so that, you know, maybe you'll be enticed to buy something from them as a consumer in the future. NAMM's probably not going to be open to the public because in a way, the public already kind of is allowed in. So the final reason why I feel that NAMM is not and probably never will be open to the public is the simple fact that if the public is allowed in, I guarantee they won't enjoy it. So when I started hearing stories about the NAMM show, I must have been like 14 years old, something like that. I've been really getting into guitar, and my teacher was telling me about this incredible place that they showed all the cool and exciting new gear, and I had guitar magazines that would bring in NAMM pictures and coverage and whatnot. And I asked my guitar teacher, well, what's NAMM like? And he says to me, imagine the largest guitar center you've ever been to. As a 14-year-old boy who would beg his dad to take him to Guitar Center on the weekends, that seemed like a dream. You know, you have all the guitars you could ever imagine, all the amplifiers and pedals. You know, there's drums, there's basses, there's all sorts of other stuff that just sounds so cool. And you know, artists come there and celebrities, and maybe I'll meet my favorite guitarist and I'll get their autograph. For a 14-year-old boy, that sounds great, but when you start going to the NAMM show as somebody working in the industry or even just attending as a guest, you quickly realize that it's kind of hard to enjoy it as a consumer. You go to a guitar company, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to have any amplifiers for you to actually plug in and play the guitars. Forget checking out amplifiers. You have to turn those up pretty decently loud in order to hear how good they're going to sound. And with the sound police running around, that's not in the cards. And then with pedals, you know, they have amplifiers and they have guitars too, but with all the background noise going on, if it's anything like a reverb or a delay, you know, maybe after like 2 seconds, that decay is going to start dying out. You know, I think to the video that I did with Brian Wampler, we're checking out 2 different reverb pedals, and at one point we're trying to go for some really ambient, washy sound, and within 2 or 3 seconds, I couldn't hear anything of the reverb tail. It wasn't until I listened back to the audio that I recorded that I was able to actually hear how far that would trail off. Not only that, you can't actually buy anything at the NAMM show. Now, there have been instances in the past where I've been able to get some product at the NAMM show. Some companies will bring some stuff and they'll, you know, be able to sell it. If there's anything like a pre-order, they'll do that for you. But you're not really going to be able to buy anything per se at the NAMM show because they have strict policies on people taking stuff off the show floor. You know, I can think of an incident a couple years ago where Andy Fuchs brought the original prototype Overdrive Supreme amplifier to celebrate the release of the ODS2, and that prototype was stolen. You can imagine the stress that he went through knowing that this original prototype, that's basically the building block of his amplifier company, was stolen. That's a heartbreaking thing to think about. So the fact that there's not really that many good opportunities to check out equipment accurately and in a good environment to make an informed purchase decision, there's really no reason for you to go. There's always the possibility that NAMM could be open to the public. And if it is, NAMM would definitely be letting exhibitors and members know that the show was going to be open to the public for at least a day or 2. Only time will tell if NAMM is ever going to be open to the public in some way, shape, or form. So that's my 2 cents on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this look. If you want to see more videos, you know what to do. You click that floating subscribe bubble somewhere over here. And hey, check out the NAMM video playlist as well, because there's tons more content to come. Thank you so much for watching, listening to my spiel, and I wish you all great tone and happy stomping. Cheers, my friends.